Good morning, everyone. I hope that you're all doing well. This is the second lesson for this week. Today we're going to deal with the Global English book, so prepare your books and let's start. Let's find out what our objectives are for today. First, we're going to read a text, then we will have listening comprehension, then we will explain a grammatical part, use of English using modal verbs. And finally, we will be solving some exercises from your workbook. So you would need both the coursebook and the workbook for today. On page 124, we will read a text about some games that happen in a charity fete. So some of these games like coconut shy, apple bobbing, beans in the jar, pin the tail on the donkey, and sack race. I've bet that you have seen some of them, so now you have to stop the video and read them because we would need this text in solving other exercises later and when we have our listening. Now let's do the listening part together. If you want to do it individually, you would find the track which is 29 in your CD, and the exercise about it is exercise 4 on page 125. If not, I will read the conversation in the listening track and then you can solve it as well. So let's start reading. In this track, you will find two people speaking, Steve and Mrs. Ackman. So they will have this conversation that I will be reading right now. Mrs. Ackman? Mrs. Ackman replies, "Yes, Steve, what is it now?" Steve, "Where would you like this table?" Mrs. Ackman will reply again, "Oh, put it over there. It doesn't really matter. This fete is going to be disaster anyway." Steve will ask, "Oh, why?" Mrs. Ackman, "Why? Well, look at those black clouds." Steve will say, "Well, I'll put it down here then." Mrs. Ackman, "Nobody will come when they see the weather. We will never make any money on a day like this." "Ah, Major Fortescue, how nice to see you." So another character comes, which is the Major. Let's see the other conversation that will happen between the Major and Mrs. Ackman. The Major will speak. "Good afternoon, Linda. I say it's looking marvelous. I think this is going to be a great success. You've got all the stalls set out beautifully." Mrs. Ackman replies, "Oh, thank you, Major. How kind." Major speaks again. "Now, they say it's going to rain, but that can be an advantage." Mrs. O says, "How true." Major for F speaks again. "A couple of years ago, we did very well indeed, in spite of this terrible weather." Mrs. Ackman, "Yes, yes, I remember." The Major will speak again. "People like a nice hot cup of tea and a piece of cake on a day like today, and that raises a lot of money." Mrs. Ackman will answer again, "How right you are. That's right. On a hot day, they just drink water which they bring themselves." So, after reading what I've just read, you can answer the questions for exercise 4. We have 7 questions. If you can't remember all what's been said, please just listen again to what I read. So, now you can stop the video and solve the questions. If you already did, let's have the answers here. For the first question, what does Steve ask Mrs. Ackman about? He asks her where to put the table. For number 2, describe Mrs. Ackman's attitude to Steve. Well, she was quite bossy and impatient. Number 3, why does Mrs. Ackman say that the event is going to be a disaster? because she sees black clouds, so it looks as if it's going to rain. As for 4, what happened 2 years ago? 2 years ago, the weather was terrible, but the fete was a success. 5. Why can bad weather be an advantage for an event like this? Because people spend money on a hot cup of tea and a piece of cake. 6. How would you describe Mrs. Auckman's attitude to Major Fortescue? The answer would be that she's very polite and friendly to the Major. Last one. What is the difference between Mrs. Auckman's opinion at the beginning of the conversation and at the end? At the end of the conversation, she's happy about the fete. Now let's explain the only grammatical part that we have for today, which is modal verbs. The definition will be a modal verb is a type of auxiliary that is used to indicate modality. What is modality? Like likelihood, ability, permission, and obligation. Many other things, of course. As you see in these examples, applicants must answer the question honestly. So this is obligation. They must answer them honestly. While for the other example, 2 of my friends can play guitar. So if they can play it, this is ability. They can play it while the girl herself, she cannot play. So the ability is for them while she cannot do it. For today, we will not concentrate on all of the modals because there are a lot, and I will put another video to explain some of these modals in a nice way. So here we're going to concentrate first on using can and can't. So when to use can or can't? We use them to express first possibility and ability, like these examples. Here are some ideas for games you can play. This is a possibility. You can play them. The other sentence, your eyes are covered so that you can't see. This is ability. Okay? For the other usage, it is for permission. Like you use may, you can use can in the same way. So you would say, you can only use your teeth. This is permission. I'm giving you permission to use your teeth. Another example, you can go out now. This is a permission for you to get out of the class. As I said that we will not concentrate on all of these modals because we have so many of them, we will now deal with must and have to. Must and have to, they are very similar. They give similar meaning, but we often use them in a different way. Each one of them grammatically does a different thing. So to start first with rules, must and have to, they are used to talk about or to set rules, like these examples. You must be at school at 8:30. This is a rule, yes? The same example using have to. For rules, there is no difference between the two at all. Now, must, we use it to talk about personal feelings. So sometimes you can say like this sentence, I really love this novel. I must read it again. See, must here, you used it because you are talking about your personal feelings. You must read it again because you loved it. Now have to, we use it for obligations. Like here, I have to finish my studying by tomorrow. I have to. Why? Because the teacher in this case or the exam will force us to read it or we have to read it by tomorrow. The last one, you can't use must for the past. If you're talking about something in the past, do not use must. Use had to. Had to is the past form of have to. So the example will be, I had to finish the book. Maybe because you loved it or because you had to. Now, the last rule is going to be using must and have to in negative. So first, you use must not, which is mustn't, in abbreviation of course, to say that it's not allowed. You mustn't talk when the teacher is talking. See, you cannot do that at all. It is something not allowed. While you use don't have to when something is not necessary. So you say, you don't have to be good at sport to enjoy it. See, it's not that necessary to be good at it if just to enjoy it, not to play it. So it's for something not necessary. We will move on now to the workbook on page 91. We will solve exercise 1 and exercise 3. The reason that we left exercise 2 because the answers could be anything. You can put whatever you want in the answer here. So, for exercise 1, let's read these sentences and find words from them in page 90, which is drought in East Africa. So, an aim that is very important to a person or an organization, this is a mission. 2, it's going to be overcome. 3, sanitation. 4, keeping yourself and your surroundings clean in order to prevent disease, which we really need now in the time of COVID-19. It's hygiene. 5, a gift of money to help a person or organization. This is a donation. 6, a place to live, shelter. 7, agree to give money to help someone who lives in another country, to sponsor. And finally, a very small number or amount, that's a fraction. For exercise 3, all these sentences here, they use although. So we will use in spite of or despite in these sentences. Notice that the answers here could be different because you can continue the sentence in any way that you like. So for the first one, it's already solved. Despite having very little money, she always gave donations to charity. Notice the comma in the middle because we used despite at the beginning. Number 2, although there were serious floods, the rescue services managed to, and we have to continue it. So, in spite of serious floods, the rescue services managed to get everyone to safety. Notice here that we're using all the forms that we have to have a noun or noun phrase after despite, or having ing form, or having a pronoun like this. So, number 3, despite collecting a lot of money for famine relief, we still need more donations. Okay, so despite collecting, this is ing form. Last one, in spite of it not being a drought area, a lot of people don't have clean water to drink. We have it here, so it's using a pronoun. Now, these are the answers for our crossword that is on page 92. You can copy these answers in your workbook. On page 93, exercise 2, we will use the modal verbs that we talked about today, like you have to, you can, you can't, you must, and you mustn't. Here are some example answers because various answers could be acceptable here. So you can stop the video and use these modals for these sentences that you have. If you did, let's share the answers together. For number 1, obstacle course, we say you pay £1 to do the obstacle course. You have to get round without touching the ground. You see, when we used you have to, We used it for setting a rule. Beat the goalie. You must stand on or behind the line. You can have 3 kicks. You get a prize for each goal you score. You see, can here is for permission and must is for setting rule. Egg and spoon race. You must run with one hand behind your back. You mustn't hold the egg. See, you mustn't hold the egg is for obligation. Last one is hoopla. We would say each contestant has 3 hoops. You have to throw the hoop over the prizes. You only win a prize if the hoop goes completely over it. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below and I will answer them for sure. See you next time.